Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Mike.
Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
How's everything going at your library?
Good. It's been busy, but good.
All right, great. Well, everything's going great here. I hope you have 20 minutes today because I want to give you a demonstration of our program.
Sounds good.
All right, great. I understand everything's set up on your guys' library website. Is that correct?
It is.
Okay, great. So once your patrons go to your library and they find Mango, they'll be able to click over and they'll get here to a login/sign up screen, okay? So they can
Wonderful.
either log in if they already created the account, or they can sign up, or actually there's also a guest mode. If they don't want to give us their info, they can click on the guest mode, which is
Great.
which is great for some people who just want to try it out and use it anonymously the first time.
Okay.
Obviously, if they do that, just so you're aware, it will not track their progress in a way that they can pick it up the next time.
Makes sense.
Okay. But once they create their account, it will be tracking their progress.
Sounds good.
So the first thing I want to show you here is our list of languages. So when they log in, that's actually the first thing is they'll have to choose a language. But if it's your second time in, after you've chosen a language, you'll click over here and you'll get our language selection menu, okay? So you
Okay.
can see that I've played around with two languages here. Japanese and Spanish were my recent languages.
Mm-hmm.
Below that, then you'll be able to see our most popular languages: the Spanish, French, English, Japanese, German, Korean, Italian, Chinese, Russian, and so on. Okay?
Right.
But know that Mango has over 70 languages available for your library, which is great. So we cover a lot of the need. And I'll scroll down here, you can see the whole list. And that includes English learning. We have over 20 English as a second language courses, one for each different native language that one of your patrons might speak, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. You can see even for some languages which are popular, there's more than one dialect. So for Arabic, there are 4 dialects of Arabic. We got the Egyptian Arabic variety here. As you can see, we got the Iraqi Arabic, we got the Levantine Arabic, and the modern standard Arabic. For French, we got the Parisian French. That would be like your standard one. And then we also have the Canadian French, which is called Quebecois.
Great.
So yeah, so you can scroll through the list. You can see it. We got Native American languages. You can see Tagalog and so on and so forth. So hopefully your patrons will be able to find the language that they're trying to learn in our list. I'm going to kind of, Rachel, just a quick status. Do you speak any Japanese?
Not really, no.
Okay, great. So I want to give you an experience today, Rachel, rather than you just kind of understand it intellectually, so you can feel what it's like to learn with Mango and relay how awesome that is to the rest of the team over at your library. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, great. So I'm just going to kind of go back to the interface here. This is like a dashboard. So I could show you the Spanish one, but they're pretty much the same on all the languages. So I'm just going to show you the Japanese one for today. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. So we'll just walk through the screen here. In the top left-hand corner, you're going to see this Resume Learning button. This is great because anytime one of your patrons comes back to learn, they don't have to think where they left off. They click this blue button and bam, they're back in the course. The other cool thing is Mango has an iOS and an Android app. So you got the web version, the iOS, and the Android app, and all the core material is the same across all of them. And the cool thing is this Resume Learning button is going to sync across all of the apps. So if they did it on the web and then they want to pick it up on their mobile phone, then they can just do that and it'll work. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. There are a couple of cool features on the mobile app that I'll just mention now too that your patrons are going to love. One of them is an autoplay feature that's available on the mobile app. So you're on the go. Sometimes, you're exercising or you can't look at the screen, right? And they still want to learn. So they're going to go ahead and click that autoplay button, and it's going to guide them through the experience in a way that they don't have to be looking at the screen. How does that sound for you?
Sounds great.
All right. Yeah, great. A lot of people like that. The other thing is we have an offline mode. So let's say you got a patron who's going on a trip to France, right? And they're going to get on the airplane. They'll want to download the lessons before they get on the airplane. Then when they're up in the air, they can be studying their French and get ready to really rock and roll when they hit the ground in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another cool thing on the mobile application that can be used.
Great.
All right, so kind of moving on. The next section here is what we call daily review. So your patrons are moving through the course, and as they move through the course, key concepts are going to be pulled out and put into this review system so that they can build them into their long-term memory and basically get the content to a place where they have it memorized and so they can use it more readily, okay? The thing with the daily review system is it has what's called a spaced repetition algorithm inside of it. And all that fancy wording means that it's going to speed up or slow down based on their ability to learn specific concepts. And that will help them to build it into their long-term memory, giving them the right amount of repetition that they're going to need. Okay?
Great. Great.
All right, so you can see I got 10 in my daily review. If we popped in there, I'd have to do my 10 for today, and then I'd be good to go for the next time. But it's only going to give them the ones that are up for review for that day, so they're not bombarded, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, moving on, there's a placement area here. You see this placement button?
Yep.
If they're not a full beginner and they want to figure out where they should start in the program, they can click on the placement here, take the placement test, and then use that as sort of a guidepost to figure out where to start. Obviously, it's not the end-all, be-all. If they want to start someplace else, they can sort of jump into any place in the course that they choose. So they might try it out and say, I think this is about right, but maybe I should go back a little bit, or maybe I want to go forward a little bit, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just kind of below that, we got our units, our main units of content. This is the main course here, and then sort of below that, you got specialty courses for some of the languages. So for Japanese, we have a few of them. You can see there's some English loan words, and there's this one called mimetic words. For example, for your patrons for Spanish, there's also a business Spanish course, and there's also a job-seeking course for business, for learning how to interview and things like that. So very, very practical stuff. We also have that on the English side. So various specialty courses. We recommend, though, normally people start with the main course and then move on. By the way, feel free to chime in, Rachel, if you have any questions along the way. Are you good so far?
Good so far.
All right, great. Now, along the left-hand side here, you'll see that there are 5 units of content. This is sort of the highest level in our course, okay? Mm-hmm. And just so you know, for our top languages, we've aligned these to internationally recognized standards. And so that's a really nice thing. One of the things that works well for some of the schools that may come into your library and say, hey, do you have something for the kids, is that these really compare favorably to the ACTFL standards, which is what they use in the schools here in the U.S. There's also sort of a marker to that, to the Common European Framework of Reference, and that's available on our website. If anybody asks you, I can get that information for you, being your account manager, okay?
Sounds good.
Okay. Now, I said that the units are sort of at the highest level, so there's 5 units. And if you kind of look, the unit is then broken down into chapters. These are thematic chapters, and then those thematic chapters are broken down into bite-sized 10 to 30-minute lessons, okay?
Great.
So you can see that in chapter 1 here, we have 9 of these bite-sized lessons, okay? So that's the good thing, is you can do those sort of like in a single sitting. You don't have to think, oh my gosh, is this thing going to end 2 hours later? You get your 10 to 30-minute bite-sized chunk, you're good, you're on your way, and you're doing the rest of the things you got to do during your day.
Wonderful.
Beyond that, for our top languages, we have additional listening and reading activities that are available here, okay? And these help to reinforce the content that is taught throughout the main lessons through the modes of listening and reading. But just know that there's also listening, obviously, and reading inside the main lessons.
Great.
Okay, here at the end, we have a recap. So let's say you took a break and you want to jump back in. You were in chapter 4 or something like that. Well, you might not want to go through and do all the content over again, so it's good you jump in, you do the recap. It gets you back up to speed real quickly, and then you're ready to rock and roll and move on, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, great. Let me see if there's anything else I want to show you on the interface. Oh, the other thing I wanted to just talk to you about for a moment was the fact that really the concept with Mango is that your patrons are using useful language skills after every single lesson. And so you can see these topics are very practical. You're going to learn how to make some small talks and make some greetings. That's the perfect first thing, right, Rachel?
Mhm.
And then,
Yep. First thing you need to know.
yeah, exactly. And then you're going to learn how to talk about where you're from, languages and origins, where'd you come from, and talk about maybe your profession and move on and talk about the things that you like and don't like. And then directions, places. So these are all, it's kind of going in a stepwise fashion through most common topics that you're going to need when you first learn the language to things that you'll want to talk about as you begin to gain some skills, okay? And this is very deliberate because we don't want to just teach language. We want to teach useful language so people feel
Yeah.
motivated to continue the learning process, okay?
Absolutely.
All right. I would like to jump in now. This is the one part that I asked, could I get a commitment from you to participate for about 5 to 10 minutes? Would that be okay?
Maybe. Yeah, sure.
I appreciate it. I think by you doing that, you're going to be able to talk about it much more readily. And trust me, it's going to
Yeah.
be pretty painless, okay?
Okay.
All right, great. So each chapter, I just jumped into Unit 1, Chapter 1, Lesson 1, but all of them start out the same. There's going to be a set of goals so you can see what you're going to learn throughout the chapter. So you can see that we have conversational goals and grammar goals. Most people like to focus on the conversational side, but some people want to know that they're learning grammar, and so we show those grammar goals over here as well. So if you were to finish this whole chapter, which I'm not going to subject you to today, not while I'm watching you and taking you through it, you would learn how to express gratitude and respond to thanks, greet people, inquire after someone's well-being, make small talk with strangers, and say goodbye. Pretty good stuff for a beginner, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to focus on just one of the grammar goals here because we'll touch on this throughout the demonstration, and that's to form yes-no questions with the particle ka in Japanese, okay?
Sounds good.
Now I'm going to go to the next slide, and what you're going to do is you're going to hear a conversation between two native speakers. The purpose of this is in the beginning of the chapter, the student is going to hear this, and they're going to be like, what? I'm a little confused. I don't understand that. And then as they go through that and we reveal the chapter to them, when they finally get to the end, they're going to hear that same conversation again, and they're going to feel the progress that they've made because then they're going to be able to understand it. So it's really about giving them that sense of progress. Okay?
Sounds good.
Let's just go ahead and take a listen then.
Here's the conversation we'll be studying in this chapter.
こんにちは。いい天気ですね。
ええ、本当に。観光ですか？
ええ、そうです。
気をつけて。
ありがとうございます。じゃあ、さようなら。
さようなら。
Great. Did you understand any of that?
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Great. Yeah, so this come up
こん
here.
にちは。いい天気ですね。
Yep, so you heard that. All right, great. So now, if you were to finish this whole chapter again, you'd be understanding this and conversations like it because we're going to teach you a lot more than just this.
Good.
Okay, I'm going to jump ahead to lesson 4 because we have a segment here that's very quick to show you how the program works, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, let's take a look.
Here's how you would say, Are you sightseeing?
観光ですか？
Now, what's the first thing you notice visually on the screen as you look at the text?
The colors.
Exactly. And what do you think those colors mean, Rachel?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll give you a little clue here. Notice sightseeing is in blue, and there's some stuff down here in blue.
So they must line up. The words
Exactly.
line up with the colors. Yeah.
Words of the same color have the same meaning.
Yeah.
And if-
Okay.
Since words of the same color have the same meaning, what do you think this blue word here means in Japanese, in English?
Sightseeing.
Exactly. Yep. And then this gold word here?
R.
Exactly. So you got the point. Now, Rachel, can you say this blue word in Japanese here? Could you read that for me?
No, I cannot.
All right, good. I didn't think so. It's a trick question. If you put your mouse on it, now can you read it?
Kanko.
Wow, you did that pretty good, actually. So
Thank you.
you're stealing a little bit of my thunder because you're so good at this. But exactly. These are phonetic pop-ups, and they're available on all the words, and on the line audio as well, which I'm going to show you in a second. Also, wouldn't it be nice if you could hear a native Japanese speaker say it to you at a slow, articulate pace so that you could hear it enunciated properly?
Sure would.
All right, let's try that. I'm going to click on it. You're going to hear it, and then I'd like you to try to repeat it out loud. You willing to do that?
Sure.
All right, thank you. So let's go ahead and do that.
観光
Kanko.
Hey, you did that pretty good. Let's try this one.
です
This.
All right, let's try this one.
か
Ka.
All
Why
right.
is there a U at the end of des?
Oh, that's a very good question. So, normally when we create phonetics for our courses, we write them exactly for an English speaker. In the example for a foreign language, we write it for an English speaker to be able to pronounce it. There are a few languages that have their own romanization of the language, which what I mean by that is that it's written sort of for an English speaker to understand how to read it. Japanese is one of them. This is called romaji. That little U there is like a slight U sound, but you can't really hear it. So for all intents and purposes, you can just say des.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, but that's a very good question. Most people don't ask me that. Yeah, so I'm going to play it now at a fluency pace, and I want you to try to say the whole thing together, okay? Listen and then repeat it yourself.
観光ですか
Kanko desu ka?
Great. This button here plays it at a fluency pace, so you can hear each word at a slow articulate pace. You can hear the whole thing at a fluency pace, okay? You did pretty good. One of the things I just want to point out to you is that most of the grammar that is taught in Mango is taught implicitly, meaning we don't explicitly tell you, hey, here's a grammar chart. Did you take foreign language in school, Rachel?
A little bit.
So you got a grammar chart. Did you ever have to do
Yeah.
the grammar charts? So we don't do
Conjugation
that.
table.
Yes, exactly, the conjugation table. So we don't do that. We teach it to you more through the context of the program, and so you learn it intuitively. For example, you see one small example of it is the color coding. You see that the words are not exactly in the same order in Japanese as they are in English, right?
Yep.
You're kind of saying sightseeing, are you? Kind of like how Yoda talks, right? And so that's you're starting to get sort of an understanding of the language through this sort of context that we're presenting to you. Okay, I'm going to move on here to the next slide. And just one thing I want to point out is that really you didn't have to know any of this to understand how to use the program. All you have to know how to do is hit the next button and follow along, and your patrons are going to learn. So that's the good news, and then they'll pick it up over time, kind of intuitively how the system works. Okay? So I'm going to go to the next slide. We'll see how we break this down and teach it to the student. Okay?
To say sightseeing, you would say
観光
All right, now I want you to try this.
観光
Kanko.
You got that. Yep. All right, you ready for your first quiz, Rachel?
Maybe. I think so.
All right.
remember
This
this?
one's going to be easy.
Say sightseeing.
Remember how to say that?
Kanko.
観光
You did good. Yep, exactly. So we gave you a quiz right after we taught it to you. This is to stave off what's called a forgetting curve, okay? I'll use myself as an example. Sometimes I go and I meet somebody and I shake their hand or something for the first time and they introduce themselves, and if I don't say their name pretty quickly after I've met them, I'm going to forget it. I don't know if you've ever found yourself in that position or not.
Always.
Yeah, and so repetition is key to remembering anything. And we have repetition throughout the whole program, but the moment you learn something, very shortly after is the time where it starts to fall off the sharpest. And so we're going to give you those repetitions right after and at key intervals throughout so that you can build it into your short-term and your long-term memory. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay, one last thing I want to show you is our voice comparison here before I move on. And this allows your patrons to perfect their pronunciation. So they can hear the Japanese speaker,
観光
they can record themselves. Kanko. See, I did that. I might have done it a little fast, but Kanko. And let's hear the Japanese speaker.
観光
Okay, almost perfect.
観
Kanko.
光
And then I can play them both together. Probably have some work to do on my Kankos, but you can see how that works. This really helps to train the ear. There is nothing better out there than your own ear to train yourself by listening to your own voice. Okay, let's move on, shall we?
Sounds good.
All right. I'm going to skip a couple slides because they're not necessary for the demonstration. We're going to go right here.
Here's how you would say, are you?
ですか
All right, now I want you to try this.
です
This
か
ka
Let's put that all together.
ですか
deska.
Great, you got it. Now, deska means are you, but what do you think this little gold word here in Japanese means?
The question mark.
Wow, you got it exactly. Now, sometimes, even though I told you we teach most of the grammar through the context of the program, sometimes it's nice to see a grammar note on a concept and bring it to life. So let me show you an example of one of our grammar notes.
The little word
か
at the end of
ですか
is a particle that turns the statement into a question. Question marks are not necessary in Japanese, as long as the particle
か
is at the end of the sentence. You'll often find English question marks in Japanese comic books and other casual writings, but they are strictly optional. Even though
か
is a word, not a punctuation mark, we will show it in the same color as the question mark at the end of the sentence.
Okay, so you got that, and we have grammar notes like this throughout the whole program written in plain English, so it's simple for people to understand, and they help to explain concepts just like this. All right, let's move on, shall we?
Sounds good.
All righty.
Now try and say, are you?
Do you remember how to say are you?
Deska.
ですか
You got
Remember this? Say,
it.
sightseeing.
You remember the sightseeing?
Kanko.
観光
Look at you rocking it out. All right. Let's skip ahead one that we don't need.
Now try and say, are you?
Deska.
ですか
Good. I see how we're building this into your memory. All right, now you ready to see if you can put it all together?
Sure.
Do your best to say,
All right.
are you sightseeing?
Deska. Kanko.
All right. Is that your final answer there, Rachel?
Yes.
All right, let's take a look.
観光ですか
All right. You did awesome because you got all the words right. The only thing is you put them in the wrong word order, putting in the English word order, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see that you said the desktop part first, and then you put the Kanko part second, right?
Yep.
So this is an opportunity for your patrons to start to understand that Japanese is formed differently. So what they would do is that they would play it again, they would listen to it, and they'd repeat it. So let's just try it in the right word order. I'll click on it. You try it out loud, and then we'll replay it again. Okay?
観光ですか
Kanko deska.
Great. All right, let's try the quiz one more time.
Do your best to say, are you sightseeing?
Kanko deska.
観光ですか
All right, now you're forming it in the right word order. That's awesome. So you got 3 slides left. You're doing great. So just stick with me for just another minute here, and you're going to be done. And in the next minute, you're going to see the real power of the system. Are you ready?
Sounds good.
All right.
Now let's learn how to say, a walk.
散歩
Listen closely one more time.
散歩
Now you try it.
散歩
Sampo.
Sampo, good job.
Let's hear you say,
One more quiz on
walk.
that.
Sampo.
Great.
散歩
And now for your final exam of the day.
good job so far. Now think of the way to say, are you taking a walk?
Sampo deska.
散歩ですか
Look at you. You put that together like that, like a pro. Now, I want to point something out here. You've never been taught this. You put this together all on your own. We call this critical thinking, right? We taught you a structure, how to say, are you sightseeing? And then we taught you another word, and we saw if you could use the structure, are you doing something, and put it together on your own. This is throughout our whole program, we have these types of critical thinking exercises. And think about it, you've only been doing this for like 3-5 minutes. You're going to have a lot of stuff that you learn. Grammar, vocabulary, and we're going to stretch your mind's ability to use the language to form your own thoughts and ideas through this. This is key for the program. So you did a great job. I appreciate you participating, Rachel. You're done. You don't have to participate
Yep.
anymore. You just have to listen for a couple more minutes, and we're going to be done with the demonstration, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, great. The next one, I just want to show you that we believe that culture is a huge part of the learning process. If you don't understand the culture, you cannot communicate properly, okay? So this is an example on the next slide of a culture note that is pertinent to what you just learned here about are you taking a walk? And notice that you actually didn't ever know the word taking. So see what the Japanese people have to say about that.
Japanese people prefer to communicate using as few words as possible. They omit what they can imply. That is why Japanese sentences often seem to consist of bare essentials. For instance, to say, "Are you taking a walk?" in Japanese, all you need is the noun,
散歩
a walk,
です
and the little word
か
that marks the sentence as a question. Simple, isn't it?
All right. Great. So any questions, Rachel?
No, not so far.
All right, great. So now you get to see what the main learning experience is all about. I just want to let you know a couple other things, and we'll have you on your way. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. First of all, parents and families want to study together oftentimes. That's why we have a family profile section right here. And parents also want to set up their children oftentimes that are under
Yep.
the age of 13 with their own account. So they can come in here and they can be the one to manage this. All you got to do is come over here, you add a profile, and they can manage these profiles. They can
Okay.
even manage what kind of content is available to them, because one of the things I didn't show you is in our Explore area, we also have some movies that are available, and we teach through those films. And some of them are appropriate for children and some of them are not. So we give them a little guide here where they can go, which one do I want to teach? And we talk about, it's kind of like a movie rating sort of deal.
Yep.
And they can choose what type of movie rating is acceptable for their children. So that's there. Also, they can watch their children's activity, including their own. Once the accounts are set up, they'll be able to see the activity of their kids and say, "Hey, we're all going to study lesson 1. Did their son or daughter finish it?" And they can hold each other accountable as well. They can also see their activity over here if they want, and how they're doing in their studying, how much time they've put in. The Explore tab over here will take you to the movies and any other tools that we may have from time to time that aren't the core material but help the students to learn. And then we also have a dictionary over here. I'm sorry, not a dictionary, a translator over here where they can use it to translate words while they're using the program. So they just click here and they type something in and it gives them a translation. Anytime they get stuck, we're just a support click away. They can just click over here and they can hit up our support team.
Great.
That concludes the demo. Is there any other questions that you have?
Nope. This looks good. Sounds good.
All right, excellent. So again, I'm your account manager. If you have any questions or you need anything while you're administering the program or anything like that, we are always here for you, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day, Rachel.
You too. Thanks. Bye.